So the three of you have language and technologies all kind of hand in hand. I want to now check and see your reinvention stories.
About 2 years ago, at the start of COVID, um, the the localization business took a little dip in March, April there, and it was kind of like the first time in a long time for me that I realized, hey, um, what happens if all of a sudden our business would implode and who would know me at this point in my career? And I was really at that point nobody really knew about me. And so I decided that it probably would be a good idea to bring a little bit of change in that and start sharing some of the things that I'm an expert on LinkedIn, and that's how my journey started. And it's been a journey of discovery and reinvention. I think one of the things that this journey has helped me discover is that I actually am a very creative person. That's an aspect of my personality that I haven't really shared or been able to apply in my business very much. And by getting creative on LinkedIn and doing some writing, I've actually uncovered that that's something I really, really enjoy. So part of this reinvention to become a thought leader on LinkedIn in particular for me has been a journey of self-rediscovery and a joy to be able to apply some of these creative impulses on a platform and in a way that I hadn't really anticipated. So that's in a nutshell what happened with me. Does that describe it accurately enough? At this point, I'm really, it's not just about being a personality on LinkedIn. It's about creating content. It's about marketing acumen. About a lot of things for me now that I couldn't possibly have anticipated when I started this journey a couple of years ago.
Exactly. And thank you so much, Stefan. That's the point, I think. That's the message behind everything you said. You made a decision to break out of some kind of box. And I think this is going to be an inspirational point for everyone here. And I have a similar experience. The corporation kind of keeps you in this, mindset, or maybe we keep ourselves in that mindset. And something within you goes, I'm a creative person. I can't just schlep files all day. I need to express myself. So you found a way to make a courageous act of creating. And there you go. You really been flying with that. So thank you so much. But what's your reinvention story when you started, where you grew up in Belgium and you decided to come to the US? And have you always had this desire to do new things, to express yourself, to paint? What's that story?
So life is really a series of forks in my opinion. And I've had maybe a half a dozen of those that have fundamentally changed my life. I'm originally from Antwerp, Belgium. My parents decided, or my dad got a job offer in Switzerland, so they took us to Switzerland. That was the first big fork in the road for me. Afterwards, I met a girl from San Francisco in the West Indies when I was working there as a tour guide. And that's how I ended up in the United States. That was a big fork in my life. 13 years ago now, I was living in California and I got an opportunity to move to Texas. That's a big fork in my life. I think a lot of times these opportunities you have to take and kind of go with the flow. You don't really know where you end up. But what's particularly been interesting for me, I think, is the revelation in the last couple of years that you have to really come out of your comfort zone to grow and to get an opportunity to morph into something else to become somebody else in your career. And it's hard to believe probably for people that see me almost every day on LinkedIn right now that just 2 years ago, nobody knew me. I actually had 2 years ago, I had less than 500 connections. I'm scratching up to 18,000 right now. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's happened and what the possibilities are. And that's just by sharing content and expertise, doing thought leadership on a social media platform. I think that Viveta and Patrice have similar experiences. Patrice is incredibly popular among translators, so he's really been doing a great job advocating there. And I'm really in full admiration of his journey as well because he has a lot of really interesting content.
So with that, thank you so much for that segue. And thanks, keep inspiring us with the content and keep, you know, encouraging us because so many of us, have come from this, oh, you can't really express yourself kind of mindset to, oh, you need to express yourself because we have to make our mark in the world.
Maybe
Okay.
before we go to Patricia, I have 10 seconds. I want to say this. That's probably the best takeaway for anybody who's here sitting, watching us, figuring out whether they want to go on a similar journey. If I could give one piece of advice to people, when I started out on this journey, sharing things on LinkedIn, I made so many mistakes. And I have, when you talk about videos in particular, I got some really doozies that, would make you laugh really hard if you would see them right now. I'm ashamed to even watch them still, but that's kind of the journey. Luckily, when you start out, you don't have a big audience. So there's not a lot of people that remember that. Anyway, I'll let you get on to Patricia.
That's actually that's I mean, isn't that the whole saying in Silicon Valley, fail fast, make your failures as fast as you can, get them out of the way and we're going to be talking a lot about experiment, you guys, try things out. Okay, so Patrice Dussault, hello.
Hello,
How
Marina.
good to
How are?
see you.
It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Hey, this is the first time actually meeting this man, and it's interesting. He makes these AI in assisted images, and I love them because you're speaking before the UN, you are seeing yourself doing all these things, and it's interesting the authenticity that you put into an AI generated image. So, what's your reinvention story, Patrice? I know a few things about you, and some of our audience do as well. What's the most wild thing you've done to
The mo-
reinvent yourself?
Well, that's a good question. Before I answer, I would like to say thank you to my friend Stefan for the kind shout out. I have always considered him one of the most dynamic lighthouses in translation and localization in the past
You're
several months
buttering
or
me
the
up
past.
pretty good right now. I'm sending you some money after this, I'm telling you.
I'm sending you my Swift number. um, yes, wildest thing I've done. I think 24 years ago, leaving my 9 to 5 and literally taking the floor out from under my feet to establish myself as a freelancer was pretty wild because if I did not succeed, I had nothing. Had I not succeeded at that time, I had nothing to fall back on. So, as I've written before, when you establish yourself as a translator, there's the first part of the learning curve is very quick, and um, getting cold sweat at first is normal, and taking a lot of notes and exchanging constantly with your clients, um, getting your terminological or your their terminology answers or their feedback, putting them into a searchable database saved my butt more than once in the early years. Um, More recently, I had to reinvent myself, having to accept AI into our work because for many years, as most translators, I worked in a silo. alone in my office, communicating with clients and communicating with nobody else. And that was basically what I did. Then the challenge was psychological, because when you work in a silo, you take ownership of the mission of the text of the translation process. You work completely alone. You send it back to the client, and they review it. And if they have questions or corrections, they come back to you and they ask, and you can have an exchange or a conversation about it. But the open-mindedness that you needed was limited to that relationship with your clients. Now, the psychological difficulty is to get out of the silo or comfort zone and accept to share the thought process that goes into the translation process with an actual machine. Sometimes if you work in a team, you share the thought process with other humans. But now the novelty is that you share the thought process with a machine by post-editing its first output, for example. Though that's completely new, and it took a lot of adaptation. I don't do it regularly, but I test the different technologies and platforms regularly to see how quickly they evolve, and they do evolve quickly. And I see enormous potential with those tools in the near and longer term future.
Viveta, you've been busting out with all these webinars you've been conducting and all of the ways that you reach out and the things that you write. What's your personal reinvention story?
Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me, Marina. And you are all, and Stefan and Patrice, you are really inspiring. I have not met you in person, but I would really love to at some point. So regarding reinvention, I would say that my professional life is a continuous reinvention. I had many changes, many challenges and opportunities. And this may seem strange because okay, I have been with the same company for 20 years. So a very common question was, why are you in the same company for so many years? This was something that, when, for example, you talk to someone, it's been criticizing, and we have seen that. But okay, in this company, I had a very, how to say, visionary employer, and he gave me so many opportunities to try myself in many different positions, and I was very willing to do so. So I reinvented myself many times and had so many job titles. I tried myself. I wanted to reinvent myself. So a very basic step for someone is willing to reinvent themselves, because otherwise it cannot happen. It's something similar with what Patrice said. So I had many challenges, many opportunities in these 20 years. It was an exciting story. And I was always, from the beginning of my career, I was visualizing myself, meaning that I knew from the beginning that I wanted to be in this translation and localization industry. I wanted to try myself as a translator, as a post-editor. After that, I was embracing technology from the first day. And I wanted to feel how people feel in the different positions. So I wanted to have my own experience through this reinvention story. So I wanted to become a part of this industry. I love this industry. I love meeting people, having all these business, professional, personal relationships in this field. And I believe that we help each other to reinvent ourselves. At some point after these 20 years, I can say that I said, okay, now I had enough and I need to reinvent myself at another level. I had enough stardust material, let's say, from all these years, and I could follow my own dream. So I didn't know exactly what would this be, but I knew my strengths, my weaknesses, and I said, okay, let's take a break. And now you need to reinvent your way towards the future, because you had enough stories and now you can go for your own story. So there where it started, I had my dream to complete my PhD, and this was my first priority. But as Stefan said, I'm a very creative person. I like relationships, I like partnerships, I like being, let's say, a leader in a way, in a nice way though, like a thought leader probably. I like to fight for our people in the industry, for their rights, for their development, for their innovation. And I think that here you find me. I'm now with Beerworks, head of partnerships. It's a very healthy relationship. I'm grateful to these people for helping me reinvent myself. And I believe that this is my story so far, with many reinvention, let's say, screenshots in it.
Oh, I love that. Reinvention screenshots. Thanks, Viveta. Yes, so I love what you said about continuous. It's some of us are serial reinventors, keep coming back to it because there's something that we want to pursue next.
It's very important that in all this reinvention story, it's not that you don't feel fear, because you are humans. We're not like ready for everything. But I believe that the important thing is to face your fear and to act anyway. If you feel this fear, you need to see what brings you the fear, analyze it, break it down, and take all the steps to go where you want to go.
Exactly. Very good. And would you say, Vivetta, that what helps with fear is having support or finding supportive colleagues or friends that, you can feel you can talk to or something like that? Does that help?
Yes, I will explain. I don't believe so much in the concept of advice, but
Yeah.
I believe very much in the concept of discussion, meaning that you discuss with other colleagues, you share experiences, they share their experiences with you, and you reshape your vision about your fears. So others have different experiences, and with the power of analogies, you can build your own system against your fear.
Oh, very good.
I have something to add to
Go
that.
ahead. Go ahead.
That's really unconventional, but it's helped me tremendously. Uh, uh, if you allow me, I'm gonna tell you the story real quick. I had 2 years ago, I had a really good friend who came down with cancer, and he asked me to go and do the Wim Hof method with him. And obviously, for people that don't know what it is, you can look it up. He's a Dutch guy who does cold therapy and breathing exercises. I didn't know anything about it at that moment, but it's kind of a funny story because that whole thing changed my life. I have actually not taken a warm shower in the last 2 years, and you'll laugh and think I'm crazy, but it actually has helped me leaning into the things that I'm fearful of. And I think
Interesting.
it's a really interesting exercise that kind of epitomizes what you're facing when you get out of your comfort zone. And if you can do something like that, go ahead, look it up if you want. The benefits to taking cold showers, but beyond that, I think it helps you again lean into the fear impulses that we have that obviously are going to come to the forefront when you're doing something that you have never done before, like posting articles or videos on LinkedIn, so to speak. This kind of an exercise really helps you to break out of that mold, so to speak, and get more comfortable with getting out of your comfort zone. So it's helped me tremendously. Anybody's further interested in that, I'm not going to bore you anymore. To share some links with you, send me a message. It's something that's fundamentally changed my life.
I'm curious, others, who has something in your life that you have taken on to break out of that mindset and get strong? Anybody, go ahead. Let's see, I'm going to put it back to the gallery. All right. Patrice, I'll bet
Okay,
you.
just to if
Viveta,
you would
go ahead.
like me to help the audience,
Yes.
there is something really like to have a relaxing talk right now and to bring them with us together. It is that every now and then, when I was feeling like I had a new challenge in my professional life, I was putting a challenge in my, okay, I would not call it personal life, but I would call it like a hobby. So I was starting a new hobby, something that I was feeling would be really incompatible with my personality. And I was testing myself there. For example, if I knew that I was not dancing really well, I was taking lessons and so on. And this was really helpful because even I was never becoming really good in it, I was like creating new neurons or something, new directions in your brain, not doing the usual things all the time. So it's like reinventing yourself, bring challenges to yourself in a parallel universe. If anyone had this experience, they may say that there you also fail, but you also see that you can do things. It's up to you.
It's great if people want to be super organized and think it through, write it down, get a business coach, all that. But that's not a prerequisite to start reinventing yourself. I personally think that one of the reasons a lot of people are hesitant to break out of their comfort zone is because they have difficulty finding the direction that they feel most confident about, and they want to figure out too much at the outset of the journey. And I think that's a great way of doing nothing. It's actually a prerequisite to start on this journey, to take a leap of faith without knowing exactly what direction you're going to end up in. And so that's probably the biggest lesson out of this whole experience for me, is that you can't really anticipate. It's of no use to try to anticipate what or where you're going to end up. And it's much more important to continuously learn and get better in areas that you're maybe not great in, and develop things and discover things about yourself that you might not even realize. So that I think is the big takeaway, if anything, for me, is that if you would have given me an image of myself 2 years ago today, I probably wouldn't have believed you, because I couldn't have anticipated all the bends and turns in the road that I would have come across. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Patrice, go
It
ahead.
absolutely does. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, I totally agree with what Stefan just said. And the thing is, when we're faced with a new technology, new change, new evolution, the temptation oftentimes is to take the novelty and try to redefine it or reshape it so that it fits our comfort zone, instead of understanding that we need to leave the comfort zone in order for ourselves to adapt to the novelty.
Viveta, you said also at one point how you were very interested in trying things out and experimenting and dabbling in things. How are you going to know if you like something? I think a lot of people live their lives by default. They ended up, I was a baker because my mother was a baker. That's not what I want to do.
Mhm.
I'm a guitar player or whatever. So Viveta, what were you saying? That experimentation is so important?
You just know it. You have an instinct and you follow it. You know what you like and what you don't like. And if you are in a professional environment, then you know where you would be a good fit and where you would be not so much a good fit. So you can try your strengths. If you are a creative person, you go to the creative side. If you are like having leadership skills or strategy skills, you go to that side, and so on. So you need to experiment with all your dreams. I mean, you visualize yourself in a way and you say, this is how I would like to be. You have someone you admire and you want to be like them. So you just try things and see what are your strengths. And this journey is not linear. So in this journey, you may discover that what was initially your dream is getting reshaped, and now you have a new dream to follow. So everything is like a journey where things come in a way that finally represent your end, let's say, target.
Exactly. Oh, I love that idea because I think there's a way you can reverse engineer. You can see, okay, I want to become, I don't know, an astronaut. That's just a wild idea. But the thing is what does it take to become that? And so, well, I like to do this and that, but you have to do the training, you have to find the skills, work backward from that goal.
It's not a matter of hours, because if you love something, you don't count the hours that are required to acquire this new skill. You're just immersed in it. So if, like Stefan, if you are a creative person and you write, you just don't realize how many hours you were writing an article, because you are immersed in it and you feel like you are in a universe where everything is like magic, and you feel the feelings of your audience. So you know that what you're doing is important from the time that you are doing it. And this goes to all the professions. But I think, Marina, that there is also another important thing to share with the audience that is related to the faith and to the argument of Stefan. No matter what happens in your life, in your professional life or in your personal life, because we all have challenges, ups and downs. And as I was commenting in one of your posts, you go up the ladder and down the ladder, and it is your decision in the end. It doesn't count where you are in this career ladder. The important thing is how well you feel about it, how happy you are, what is the result out of it, and that you are very aligned with your identity. You believe in your professional identity, and you feel that everything is ethical against it. So this is a very good point for things to happen. If you believe in yourself and in your identity, and you feel that anything around you is aligned with it, then you are in the right path to reinvent yourself.
Oh my goodness.
So much of this journey is psychological as well. And Viveta just touched upon something that really rings true for me. Not sure where I heard this, but somebody not too long ago had a speech in which it was said that when you're working towards a goal, it's not the arriving that's important. It's the incremental advances you make, and those give you a dopamine push, so to speak. So
sure.
when you're doing something that you're continuously getting better at, that's really something that will lift you up. And so many of us are in this journey of reinvention, I think, because we are uncomfortable, fearful, the future's uncertain. There's a lot of things that we're worrying about. So when we can get involved in a journey of reinvention like this, that can potentially give us make us feel good on a regular basis, that's going to make a big difference, I think, in our general mindset, if that makes any sense. And the one piece of advice that I would give anybody who's thinking about reinventing themselves as such is start writing. Writing for me has made such a huge difference because writing forces you to crystallize your ideas and to really think things through, and you'll discover things about yourself, about the world, about your profession, about your business that you would have never even considered before unless you start doing it. So that's, I think, for me, the whole journey has evolved from that starting point, from writing and crystallizing my thoughts in a way that I'd never done before.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's actually engaging the brain, something we kind of keep kind of like to the side. We cut ourselves off at the neck and we just work, work, work. We're not thinking and writing and having that creative process of making a connection with thought to the paper.
I bet there's a lot of people in our audience that have years of experience working in localization and have so much knowledge about so many things that they kind of peripherally are aware of, but once they would start writing it down, they'd be amazed of the expertise they can bring and the niche knowledge they could provide to others.
And allow me to add to this, because it is this exact point. And I heard so many times in my life that it is so important not only to write down your ideas, but to write them down pen and paper. So it's like, or pencil and paper, even better, because you can erase them, you can visualize them, and this is where you can own them in a way.
Ooh.
So these practical things and very, how to say, trivial things are really important when you reinvent yourself. And apologies for saying that, but I have pen and paper writing all the time. I feel it's like, how to say, it's like a process exactly of reinventing yourself. This is how I would call it.
Absolutely. And it's kind of sad that these days it seems like, so out of the box that you actually use paper. But it's so true. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to reassure people about the one thing that all of us creators talk about behind the scenes. We all have imposter syndrome. It's a little alien that sits on your shoulder and tells you you're not worthy. Every single person on the face of this planet has the same feelings of unworthiness at times, insecurity about what it is that you've created. Let that not be a showstopper for anybody. Since we all have it, we might just as well put it to the side and ignore it. It's not useful at all. It doesn't bring us anything. We can just acknowledge it and then just turn the page on it. Don't fold to imposter syndrome. Be brave and put down your thoughts nevertheless. We're all in the same boat.
Ooh, very good. Oh my gosh. Well, and we've got some wonderful comments coming through on the chat, and this is really kind of stirring up in everyone. Chantal, oh my gosh, participating in conferences was outside your comfort zone. Absolutely. It takes a lot. That's, what's one of the biggest fears, public speaking. But you can do many things ambivert. So you have a lot of capabilities and you have the passion. And so when you overcome your discomfort, think of it this way. People need to hear your story. People need to hear what you have to say. And I think when we keep ourselves limited, by society or what the boss thinks we should do, you're missing out. The world's missing out from hearing from you. So yeah, great. Keep going, Chantal. And then, helping you reflect on things and you get more confidence. Would everyone say that the more you do, the more confident you get? So it's like exercising any kind of physical muscle. That confidence muscle gets exercised. Put yourself out there, right?
That's precisely the cold shower thing, right? I mean, we know it's cold. It's uncomfortable to go in it. The first time you do it, you're thinking about it for 4 minutes before you even dip a toe because it's going to hurt. It's horrible, all that. Now I'm going in my cold shower. I'm not even thinking about it anymore. And it feels kind of normal and comfortable. That's precisely why you're doing it, and that's kind of the exercise we're telling each other. We have such a wonderful, supportive community and localization too, and so many of the people that are with us here today, like you just were quoting Chantal. I don't, I didn't even see her sitting in the audience up until now. But when you said Chantal, I knew exactly who it was, and that goes to show we are super supportive as an industry, and we exchange ideas, and we develop relationship with people. That's the other great thing I think we have going as a community, is that you're not starting from scratch in that sense. You can reach out if anybody has a question for me or following this panel. Feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that the other panelists feel the same way. We talk to people all the time, and we develop relationships, and you'd be surprised what opportunities come out of that. If I hadn't been in some what was the platform, Marina, that we crossed paths with in the beginning? Was it
Oh yeah,
Clubhouse?
it
Clubhouse.
was,
If I hadn't been in Clubhouse with Marina a bunch
yeah,
of times a couple of years ago and started talking to her, I wouldn't be
yeah.
sitting here. So that's kind of the journey.
Interesting.
Marina has many things. It's a very common fear, and the way we address this fear is relevant for many other fears. So it's practice, it's techniques, it's breathing, it's how much you believe in yourself, how much you believe that your topic is important to others. It's how you feel that others would feel like you in your position, so you are not like an alien out there. It's just everybody could feel the same. So all of these elements, let's say, are things that can take you ahead and forward, and you can overcome your fear. So this is what I can share, because I'm also dealing with public speaking. I had courses of public speaking because I wanted to discover how good I was. And my teacher was telling me, look, you have potential in you, meaning you have feelings. Guide your voice with your feelings and focus on it and on your breathing. And this was really important. And what is the takeaway is that in reality, whatever you do with your feelings and you are authentic, it takes you somewhere. So this is what we have to keep for anything we do while reinventing ourselves.
Oh my gosh, that's something also I wanted to check in with everybody of the panel about, that direction finding. And so you're suggesting your feelings. Is it something where, expand on that just for a second. So what's authentic, what's your feeling? How does that help you guide, is this the right thing or not? Do you have a thought on that? Or what do you do?
I think it's just your instinct, because your instinct is your experiences, is a set of experiences. It's a set of things that you have conquered so far, you have mastered, and everything is reflected there. So this is how you know that your feelings guide you the correct way, because when you failed, you had feelings. When you succeeded, you had feelings. So this is your experience, and this is how your feelings guide you towards the future. They cannot be wrong. Emotional intelligence is a very important thing in this journey.
Interesting. But then you have to be able to tell the difference between fear that holds you back and the feeling that things are right and it feels like this is home, this is something that I can do. But Patrice, you have some thoughts on that. What's your thought?
I totally agree with Viveta and also with yourself, because it's difficult to tell the difference. Sometimes I've had to go against the grain or against a personal feeling, approaching a new technology, having difficulty learning it. And I felt so bad that I wanted to quit so many times when I was faced with this new mountain. And I said, well, I'm going to take a break, walk it off, come back with a fresh mind and reapproach it from a different angle and see how that works, if I can manage my way through. And sometimes it could be simple hurdles that would appear simple to somebody else, but when you've never done it, it can be difficult. So sometimes I would get discouraged, and it took me 3 hours to open my Midjourney account, for example, and for somebody else it would take 2 minutes. But the feeling that I got after succeeding and putting my fear away and keep working at it, succeeding, and then the overjoy that I got after succeeding more than compensated the negative feeling I had, or the fear, the intense fear that I had before. Sometimes I have to not listen to my fear and just walk over it and work at it until I succeed. So, but I agree with Viveta. How can you tell good fears and well, fears you should listen to and fears you should walk over? That's not always easy to discern.
I think there
Will
are
you agree?
two. Yeah, please, Stefan. Yeah.
Do you agree that it's kind of like a muscle you need to train, because so many of us have been very comfortable for a very
Mhm.
long time,
Exactly.
just coasting.
Exactly.
And so
Okay.
the first time you do something that's out of the ordinary, I remember posting for the first time on LinkedIn on a Sunday afternoon and calling the friend who told me that I should start posting and begging her to give me a like, because in the first 2 hours, nobody had even seen my post. That's pretty lonely, that first time, so to speak. And it taught me a lot of lessons that I
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
to, get a lot better. And it wasn't going to
That's
be
right.
that simple to just throw something up there. So it's been a learning experience. That's the scary part. But again,
Yes.
I bring it back to the cold shower thing. It's
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
climatize
Yeah.
to being uncomfortable. And part of the journey of reinvention is that in the beginning, especially, it's going to be very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
dip your toe
Yeah.
in the waters,
Yeah. Try it
slowly
out.
try it out and see
Yeah.
what exactly. One of the things that I'm really curious about, because my life, I have the 10-year itch a little bit. I have to be honest with you, and I wonder whether anybody else feels the same way. I've had big changes in my life, maybe every decade
Uh-huh.
of my journey, and they've usually been accompanied by a big move somewhere, from
Mhm.
Belgium to Switzerland, from
Mhm.
Switzerland to the Caribbean, to the United States, from the East Coast to the West Coast, like big shakeups that almost completely changed my life in a very physical way. And I kind of have come to like that about my journey. I wonder whether the other panelists and maybe people in the audience have the same feeling. Like, it would be very difficult for me to find myself in a position where I'm stuck for the rest of my life. It's just not the way my
Oh,
life
yeah.
is panned out. So I would probably expect that there's a lot of people in the localization industry, since we're so multinational and multilingual, et cetera, that there's got to be a lot of people that have the same kind of feeling, that get
Yeah.
restless after a while. They want to go
That's
do
right.
something else, and there's more to life than what I've been doing for the past X number of years.
Would
Thank
you
you for
say
inviting
something?
us, Marina.
Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much,
Stefan.
Marina.
Thanks, Viveta. Thanks, Patrice.
Thank you so much, Marina.
All righty, everybody. Take care and be brave. All right.
Bravo. Bye
All
bye.
right. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye
Bye
now.
bye.